Oh, okay. What's the time up there? Is it 10:30? What do we got? What's the starting time? 10:30?
10:33.
10:30 a.m. 11, 12, 13. And this is Natural Resources meeting, and I'm going to go ahead and we'll read this into record. I need an adoption to our agenda. Okay, this is introduced by Chairman Darren Oakcount from the Crow Tribal Executive Branch. A joint action resolution of the Crow Tribe supporting and working with the Navajo Nation in development and implementation of joint tribal efforts in energy development law and policies. I need an adoption. Do we have an adoption? Motion to adopt by Secretary Oakcrow. Okay, whereas Article 5, Section 2A of the Crow Tribe Constitution vests the Crow Tribal Legislature hereinafter the Legislature with the power and duty to promulgate and adopt resolutions in accordance with the Constitution and federal law for the governance of the Crow Tribe. And whereas Article 4, Section 4A of the Crow Tribe Constitution provides that the general duties of the executive branch officials shall include the duty to implement all resolutions and policies duly adopted by the legislature. And whereas Article 4, Section 3A of the Crow Tribe Constitution provides the Crow Tribe Executive Branch shall have the power and responsibility to represent the Crow Tribe in negotiation with federal, state, and local governments and other agencies, corporations, associations, or individuals in matters of economic development affecting the Crow Tribe. And whereas the Navajo Nation and the Crow Tribe have shared interests in relating to energy development, and whereas the Navajo Nation and the Crow Tribe each possess abundant co-resources and both have acted to harness the development of the respective resources and to ensure that the benefits of such development will primarily inure and redound to their members, institutions, instrumentalities, and whereas the actions of the Navajo Nation and the Crow Tribe with respect to their abundant co-resources also provide direct derivative benefits to the other residents of their reservations and neighboring jurisdictions. And whereas the economic development and growth in Indian country is generally anemic and federal taxes, fees, and regulatory burdens serve as incentives to investing and transacting business in the Navajo Nations and the Crow Tribe's respective reservations. Removing federal tax and regulatory burdens from the operations within the Navajo Nations and Crow Tribe's reservations, namely the economic instrumentalities and affiliates of the Navajo Nation and the Crow Tribe, will serve to ameliorate conditions that stifle investment and transacting business within their reservation. And whereas the United States Environmental Protection Agency has proposed a carbon tax and new electric generating unit source performance standards for carbon dioxide emissions, which would be harmful to the Navajo Nation and the Crow Tribe if applied to operations within their reservations, and particularly their economic instrumentalities and affiliates conducting operating relating to their coal resources and to the power plants and utilize their coal. And whereas Navajo Nation and the Crow Tribe are uniquely positioned to encourage and convince the United States to avoid the imposition of application of these and other such taxes and regulatory burdens on operations within their reservations, and particularly their economic instrumentalities and affiliates and industry partners conducting operations relating to their coal resources. And whereas Navajo Nation and the Crow Tribe collaborating to bring to fruition the permanent extension of the Indian Coal Production Tax Credit and the express exemption of the imposition and application of tax and regulatory burdens on operations within their reservations, and particularly their economic instrumentalities and affiliates and industry partners conducting operations related to their coal resources, is mutually beneficial. Now therefore be it hereby resolved by the Crow Tribe Executive Branch and Crow Tribal Legislative Branch in special session The Crow Tribe formally and officially supports Navajo nations and the Crow Tribe's combined and collaborative efforts in energy development, namely with regard to their respective abundant co-resources. Be it further resolved, the Crow Tribe, in collaboration with the Navajo Nation, formally and officially supports the United States permanent extension of the Indian Coal Production Tax Credit. Be it further resolved, the Crow Tribe, in collaboration with the Navajo Nation, formally and officially opposes the imposition and application of the United States proposed carbon tax on power plants that utilize their coal. Operations within the Navajo Nation and the Crow Tribe's reservation, and particularly on the Navajo Nation and the Crow Tribe's economic instrumentalities and affiliates conducting operations relating to their respective abundant coal resources. Be it further resolved, the Crow Tribe, in collaboration with the Navajo Nation, formally and officially opposes the imposition and application of the United States Environmental Protection Agency's proposed new electric generating unit source performance standards for carbon dioxide emissions on power plants that utilize their coal. Operations within the Navajo Nations and the Crow Tribe's reservation, and particularly on the Navajo Nation and the Crow Tribe's economic instrumentalities and affiliates conducting operations relating to their respective abundant coal resources. Be it further resolved, the Crow Tribe's relevant governmental and political subdivisions, offices, instrumentalities, entities, respective or representatives, personnel, and agents are authorized to work in conjunction and collaboration with Navajo Nation Washington Office, the Navajo Nation's relevant government and political subdivisions, offices, instrumentalities, entities, representatives, personnel, and agents to encourage and convince the United States to avoid the imposition or application of such taxes and regulatory burdens on operations within their reservation, and particularly their economic instrumentalities and affiliates and industry partners conducting operations relating to their coal resources that are stated, referenced, and contemplated by this joint action resolution. Be it further resolved, the Crow Tribe's relevant governmental and political subdivision, offices, instrumentalities, entities, representatives, personnel, agents, and authorized to work in conjunction with the collaboration with Navajo Nation Washington Office, the Navajo Nation's relevant governmental and political subdivision, office, instrumentalities, entities, representatives, personnel, and agents to encourage and convince the United States to bring to fruition the permanent extension of the Indian Coal Production Tax Credit and express the exemption of the imposition and application of tax and regulatory burdens on operations within their reservations, and particularly their economic instrumentalities and affiliates conducting operations relating to their coal resources. This includes, but is not limited to, the Crow Tribe's collaboration with Navajo Nation to strike or extend expiration and place in service dates, remove restriction on coal sales to related parties, and create allowances for the Indian Coal Production Tax Credit to be used against alternative minimum taxes into the future for the defined or indefinite periods of time. Be it finally resolved that upon being duly adopted by the Crow Tribal Legislature and signed into law by the Crow Tribal Chairman, a certified copy of this tribal joint action resolution shall be immediately delivered to the Secretary of the Interior in Washington, D.C. by the Tribal Secretary. That's it, boys, girls. Okay. Any discussion concerning this? Again, this is a resolution that has evolved from the support resolution from the AT&I, and then to the support resolution from NCAI, which supports our Code of Liquids pilot program, and then now the Navajo Nation, we're looking to work collaboratively together on energy policies. In this one here specifically, it names the Indian Coal Production Tax Credit, but overall, we're looking at everything that's related to coal. And right now, if we look at doing a Code of Liquids generating power plant or whatever comes about of that, then we're going to have to deal with some of these environmental restrictions that are going on that are going to be hurting us in Indian countries. So this is something that we're looking at working towards together, and that's Chairman O'Connell and President Shelley, Ben Shelley, are working together, and so what we're looking at right now, like I stated earlier, with the affiliated tribes of the Northwest, that was 58 federally recognized sovereign nations that were supporting the Crow tribe unanimously, and then with NCAI, it brought us to 565 federally recognized sovereign nations, and with this, we're going to be looking at the total of 566 federally recognized tribes that are going to be supporting the Crow tribe in their Quota Liquids pilot program. And so that's something that's pretty huge, that I don't think that's ever been done in that fashion, but the Crow tribe are always usually doing things that being first. So again, with that, I wanted to bring it to the committee and call for any discussion, comment, concerns, and hear your input. I believe our executive, they're in the house, Bill's here, and maybe we could remove these things here for a little bit. I don't know who brought this, but pretty nice work here, but we're gonna need the table. So if we can,
We'll just put it on the.
oh, yeah, pretty nice. We're on it, case, huh? Yeah. Oh, I thought they were gonna bless us. Anybody that goes to DC delegation, they get to use them. Okay, at this time, I'm gonna ask Executive Legal Counsel Bill to come up and make comment towards this. Jar? Go ahead, come on up, Bill. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I understood, I think you read into the record the revised resolution that I forwarded yesterday. Yeah. And since then, just comments from the legal department, talking with Kristen and Melissa this morning. Understand, I think that Navajo has passed theirs, although I'm not sure that's secondhand to me. So the idea was to mirror theirs as closely as possible so as not to create any inconsistencies or conflicts between what the two tribes are saying. They agreed that most of these changes are good, these small revisions, except for they thought the revisions to the second to the last resolution that talks about, it's right now, let's see. Right here. The last line of the resolution of the second to the last resolved, to leave that the way it was originally in the Navajo resolution. I had added some specifics there about the placed in service date and about removing restrictions on sales to related parties. And they thought for lobbying purposes it's probably better to stay as general as possible, to leave room for that. Those are the things that we are asking for in terms of modifications, but I do have some copies of the revised resolution with that sentence not changed. So for the record, that sentence, it starts with "this includes." Again, it's the last sentence of the second to the last resolution relating to the Indian coal production tax credit. That last sentence would then read like it does in the mirror image of the Navajo, that this includes but is not limited to the Crow tribe's collaboration with the Navajo Nation to strike or replace expiration dates and create allowances for the Indian coal production tax credit to be used against alternative minimum taxes into the future for defined or indefinite periods of time. And I think that concludes, at least concludes my comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any more comments from the committee? Any concerns? Any disputes?
let me, you gotta use your microphone.
Yeah.
Irage na uri akse no mabe code the cut what you were to gig hage na code liquids gonna go gig opik share in my irage my office akushta na bawlaje kuga the cut book airdrop here stood by you in agus na bawlaje here Department of Energy take na barish na code liquids you will get somebody kill and pilot project get yo get me no cut a need on just quarterly it is you spoke you all ATNI go na kajigina resolution to that oh the I just suck NCAI got a repeats as you get NCAI kanuk take it kodu and in the ATNI Court Lane come all that was about 64 tribes that data here again NCAI get what is it 565 tribes in Indian country argue with about get tapcheh with that the kajik you na dig no kishayak energy get deal you get me na go cut book na nabo kuneda in coal tax production credit up page you na and malaga get dukta no mawala dukta gala Department of Energy get lobby get up but no mawala bishi much again Malaysia cut bakuru kaliu gana ni raja yo galeo kahaja meri bogum kago Malaysia hakka to still no abe iwawala yage izo stelu gren mayo khazako stelu ke na iru dal gna bawish kar cut bakuru na babe yo na kohera shippa gna bawlaja kohi mat get now so tere the cook emiu Cosa nira yo ila kaha do mulero.
Oh, Mr. Speaker, I guess I stand corrected. It's 564 because we're 65. But Navajo does not participate as a member of NCAI, and their complaint is that they're too huge to be just a 180 tribe. And when I say 180 tribe, it's kind of like the electoral voting. They have over 600,000 members, and they think they should have a bigger vote. And so they refuse to join the NCAI. But nevertheless, they're going to be supporting the Crow tribe. And during the COAT meeting, they are going to be. I did speak with Speaker and Secretary about that. Their intent to start up CERT, and at that time, Leroy was in attendance at the meeting, and Ben Shelley said, "I already said it. I'm not going to go against what I said, and even if you bring this resolution to the floor, I'm voting against it." So he said, "Tex, Chairman Hall. You started a refinery, you're doing pipelines, you're doing things like that by yourself. Why do you need to go under an organization to do things all together? I'm going to do my thing, you do your thing, Crow's going to do their thing. Why do we need to bother each other and stifle?" So that was his thoughts. And that's just the way he is. He's not being arrogant, he's just being truthful. And he said that if this comes to the floor, this resolution, I'm going to vote against it, he said. So they made a decision to not even entertain it, and it's going to stay tabled. And so they've called Raleigh Wilson to do some more research concerning that, because they did say that CERT had a liability of $200,000 that Tom Fredericks, attorney at law, had gave that information to Tex. And so, but Ben Shelley's executive director from the Navajo Nation Embassy in DC had stated otherwise. So until they figure that one out, right now, Navajo's ability to go on their own is going to stay the same. But Navajo are joining up with the Crow tribe in this joint action resolution. And so to have that kind of force on the Hill says a lot for the intent of both Crow and Navajo approaching the Hill. And right now, the evolving meeting schedule that has been put together, I think Sherry might have given out copies. But we have a whole lineup of meetings. And that's another thing that I did send a mass text out to everybody that Chairman Oakcloud asked that we get as much support as we can. I know Speaker is going to bring that out, and I did say I was going to bring it out at the meeting today. And right now, today, at it would have been 6:30, well, 6 o'clock our time, 8 o'clock DC time. Buzzy covers up and Alan Stewart and the gang, they all joined up. They all and went on the road, and they arrived in DC at Grand Hyatt now with their rack of teepee poles. And so they're over there, and the Crow tribe is going to do the kickoff for the Tribal Nation Summit by putting together they're going to put up a teepee on the White House lawn. And so that's going to be a Crow teepee that you see on the lawn of the White House. And that's going to occur today at 4, which would actually be 2 our time. So that's going to happen today. And as I said, the meetings have evolved to more senators that we're going to be meeting concerning this, because this is buzzing on the Hill right now. And so, with that being said, I guess I do offer attendance. I know we brought it out before that this was coming up, but elections were coming about and there was restrictions and those things. I guess you can be dealing with Duke on that. Speaker goes ahead. But the attendance of the legislative branch, the members that are going to be in office are going to, that's open to them. And so I believe Junior's going to be leaving I think he already left, but I'll be leaving here in the next, it's almost 11. I said 11 I'll be leaving, but as soon as I get done here. So with that being said, the invite is open. So is there any comments? If not, can we get a motion for passage of the joint action resolution? Okay, we got a comment here.
I guess I would recommend and request that we would just amending that last language as I read it into the record.
Yeah, that's the second to last. Now therefore be it resolved that passage with the adjustment of language to the JAR back to the old language of the JAR. And again, that reads as follows: this includes but is not limited to the Crow tribe's collaboration with the Navajo Nation to strike or replace expiration dates and create allowances for the Indian coal production tax credit to be used against alternative minimum taxes into the future for defined or indefinite periods of time. And that's the language we're shooting for, the old language, and not the revised language, the blue version. So with that being said, do I have a motion for recommendation for approval? Motion.
No motion yet, Mr. Chairman. I just had a brief comment with your permission.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I just want to make a note, Alagulik Navajo. If I don't recall who was on that trip when we went and visited with the Navajo Nation legislature and how their government is formulated. 2003, And it says a lot when the president of the Navajo Nation is behind the Crow Nation and backing us up. Ishewa, the president does not make a move because the power is in the branch, and the power is invested in the Speaker of the House, the way their constitution is set up. President Kira, he does what the Navajo Nation legislative branch wants, according to how their constitution is set up. The Speaker of the House is the one with the power. And the President does not make a move unless the branch is in sync with the executive branch. Government, the way it's set up, the power is vested in the Speaker. And the President won't back you unless the majority says so. I just wanted to bring that out. And like 2003-ish, when we went to tour their chambers, it was quite interesting. It was a great learning experience. That was during my first term here. So I just wanted to make that point. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That was a good point. I didn't go on that time, but I think I went in 2008, and yeah, it's to see the power of the Navajo Nation's government was pretty impressive. The way they respect each other's authority and the levels of passage just to get legislation through. And it was said right now that Navajos had already entertained this, and
it's 11 hours.
They invited the Crow tribe to a reception that they're putting on, and this is part of the deal that we're going to be standing together, and they're excited about it. Like I said earlier, President Shelley is he's a man of his word, stands on his word, and he even said, sometimes I get myself in trouble. I'll say something, then I have to follow it. He said, so, and even his attorney at law, Tomei, said, reminded him of some of his campaign speech, of what he had said. And I witnessed that. He says, yeah, I know I said that, he said. I said it, I have to go by it. This is what the people know of me, he said. So he basically told Tex, he says, go ahead and start your organization, but I'm going to start my organization. Whoever comes with me will come with me. Whoever goes with you will go with you. That's just the way it's going to be. Yeah. He said, but me myself, he said, if you bring it to the floor, I'm voting no on this. And so right there, everybody got kind of shook. You had two powerhouses sitting there and telling each other exactly what they were going to do, and so they just tabled it and said they were going to research it some more. But that's what they were going to do, is they're going to start up. Navajo is going to revisit CERT, the Council of Energy Resource Tribes, and CODE was actually looking at establishing a 501c3 to do the same thing with the intent. But the reason why they were going to do it is because they were told that CERT had liability because it's kind of a stagnant organization that fell off the grid of the 501c3. And so they had a liability of $200,000. That's why they didn't want to go with it. So they felt like they should just start a new one. But Navajo says they're going to revive it. Anyway, with that being said, do we have a motion for recommendation for approval for this JAR?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair.
Motion made by
Second.
Speaker goes ahead, second by Leroy Not Afraid. We got a question? Question by Senator Stewart from the Waiau District. Okay, all in favor of the motion to make recommendation for approval to come to the floor today in special session, signify by raising your right hand. 13 in favor. Any no? Any abstain? Motion is passed. Now we need a motion to adjourn, and then we can go into the special session, Mr. Speaker.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, motion to adjourn, signify by raising your right hand. It's unanimous. Any opposed, abstain? Motion has passed to adjourn.